What a crazy 7 years this has been. From that rancid first poster to Sonic 3 getting an 85% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes, it's safe to say this series of films has started from the bottom and has climbed its way to success, both critically and financially. But what do I think? While these movies have plenty of issues and are far from perfect, I still quite like them. I think each movie is an improvement on the last, with movie 3 being the best of the bunch. But before we get that far, we have to start from the beginning, with Sonic the Hedgehog 1. A movie with a trailer so abhorrent that the internet collectively got Paramount to delay the film and redesign Sonic. But did it work out for them? Was the movie a success? Was it all worth it? What do you think?
Can I give you one genius piece of advice? Don't run. It'll only hurt more if you do. And it's bad for your joints, they've proved it.
Yo, is that a game theory reference? For as much attention as it got during the build-up to its release, Sonic 1 is not that remarkable of a film. It doesn't do much wrong, in fact I think it's a competent kids movie. The problem is that it just doesn't represent the Sonic franchise as much as it should have. Things like the movie taking place on Earth, original human characters taking up a lot of screen time, and the overall lack of game iconography makes this movie more generic than it could have been. Take Detective Pikachu for example. Despite the plot being a far cry from your usual Pokemon story, it still manages to feel like a uniquely Pokemon experience through the setting and world building. It's not Pokemon but in our world, it's just the Pokemon world, and that inherently makes the movie more interesting for both newcomers and hardcore fans. Other video game movies like the Angry Birds movie, the new Super Mario movie, and even the Minecraft movie kinda get this right, which is why it bums me out that Sonic didn't get the same treatment. It's not a Sonic movie as much as it is a movie with Sonic in it, if you get what I mean. To be fair, it's not like there aren't any Sonic elements in this movie. You get Green Hill, Mushroom Hill, the Echidna tribe from Sonic Adventure, Tails in the post-credit scene, and a lot of small references like a sign for Hilltop and Robotnik naming his robots Badniks. I love these references, but I can't help but feel like they should be more integrated into the movie, rather than what can feel like shallow fanservice slapped into the movie during post-production. There's also one more reason why the movie doesn't truly feel like a Sonic movie, that being Sonic himself. I'm just gonna say it, I don't like this characterization of Sonic. He overall acts less like my ideal version of Sonic and more like Ben Schwartz doing his usual shtick.
Haha! Nailed it!
To give Schwartz credit, his performance feels like a mashup of Ryan Drummond and Roger Craig Smith's takes on the character, so I can see why some like it. Even I really liked his performance as Sonic at one point. But as of now, I just find movie Sonic a little annoying. Also, I know this is a bit of a derailment, but Sonic refusing to acknowledge the danger he and Tom are in and choosing to continue to argue with them about leaving Green Hills is a little dumb. I know this is a younger version of Sonic than we're used to, and as such, we should expect childish behavior from him, but it just comes off as him being, well, stupid.
You're more like the jerk lord.
Have you noticed the harpoon stuck in our dash?
That's what I'm saying. Anyway, weirdly enough, I actually find myself more invested in the human characters in this movie than Sonic himself. Despite how, for a lack of a better term, generic they are compared to Sonic characters from the games, I find Tom, Maddie, and Agent Stone to be welcome additions to the franchise. I don't need more of Wade and Rachel though, I hope we see less of them in the future. The best human character though, unsurprisingly, is Dr. Robotnik, played by the legendary Jim Carrey. While Carrey is doing his usual Carreyisms here, and this version of Robotnik is a lot less threatening than he can be in the games, I still enjoy this take on the character. Most of the best jokes in the movie come from him. And Commander Walters. The first Olive Garden joke was bad and thinly veiled product placement, but the second one was a lot funnier just because of how it catches you off guard. I like the designs for Robotnik's drones, even if it's only because their white, egg-shaped designs lead Sonic to come up with the nickname Eggman. I wish there was a small scene showing Sonic connecting the dots, but still, I like the idea. I wish the Eggmobile looked more like the actual Eggmobile from the games though. They should do that in the sequel. Going back to Robotnik himself, while I really wish he and Sonic had more interactions in the movie, I like that he treats hunting down Sonic as simply a job at first, and he only starts to truly hate the hedgehog after he's banished to Mushroom Hill. Plus, I really like the ending scene where we see Robotnik with a game-accurate look. When he puts those goggles on, he looks exactly how I'd picture a live-action Robotnik to look. Because I don't know how to write scripts, here's a lightning round of a bunch of random nitpicks I have with the movie. How did Robotnik find out Tom and Sonic were going to San Francisco?
Judging by the quickest route to San Francisco.
Apparently he got that information from someone who was at the bar, but I don't think Tom and Sonic ever mentioned San Francisco while they're there. Why did Tom let Sonic drive a car on 2 separate occasions? Both times were stupid decisions on Tom's part, especially the second time where there really isn't any reason for Sonic to drive instead of him or Maddie.
Is there anything you didn't hit?
Why did we let the alien drive?
It just strikes me as odd because Tom is characterized to be a pretty smart guy, so I find it hard to believe that he'd do something like that. Why didn't Wade just shoot Robotnik in the head? Is he stupid? Yes. To wrap things up, I find Sonic 1 to be pretty mediocre, yet still enjoyable. Despite my issues with the writing, Sonic's characterization, and the lack of iconography from the games, I still like the movie for what it is, and I find myself rewatching it quite a bit. It could have been better, but wow, it could have been a lot worse. I'll give Sonic 1 a C. Let's see how the sequel does.
Want something done right? You have to hire someone you can push around. All caps.
Sonic 2, while being a step up from Sonic 1, sadly did not hold up on this most recent rewatch. While I still found myself enjoying most of the movie as I usually do, I couldn't help but notice a lot of issues when looking with a more critical eye. Let's start this review off with the negatives. I found the humans to be handled way worse in this movie compared to what came before. While in the first movie the humans felt like natural inclusions that fit the story the movie was trying to tell, the humans in the second movie don't add much of anything, and I feel like my time is being wasted when I'm watching those scenes. Oddly enough, separating the human stuff from the Sonic stuff ended up being worse than integrating the human stuff with the Sonic stuff. I'd rather see Tom along for the ride than cut back and forth from Sonic and Tails on an adventure to Tom playing volleyball with a bunch of buff, shirtless dudes.
Look at those guys. I wish Sonic had that.
Surprisingly, not the most out-of-pocket thing this movie has to offer. I don't even want to talk about the wedding scene just because it makes me upset, but alas, I must carry on. This shit fucking sucks, dude. It's so unrelated and revolves around characters I frankly don't give a shit about that it's really hard to not tune out and imagine a world where I'm watching literally anything else. I forget that I'm watching Sonic the Hedgehog 2 when I'm deep into this scene. Somehow people say that exact thing but as a positive, and it makes me want to shove a lava lamp into my ear. A common defense I hear for this scene is that it's made for all the non-Sonic fans watching this movie who need a break from the silly animal people. And to that I say, why would you go see Sonic the Hedgehog 2 if you don't like silly animal people? Besides, shouldn't the goal of the movie be to turn people who weren't fans before into Sonic fans? People don't become Sonic fans in 1991 after playing Sonic 1 because there's a whole level in the middle of the game dedicated to playing f***ing golf. People don't watch a Sonic movie because of the wedding trauma, they watch a Sonic movie for Sonic the Hedgehog. You wanna know how I know that? Because none of the posters have Rachel on it.
I just feel a little guilty about what I did to Rachel, sir.
Don't worry about it. We'll send her a gift card.
The humans also feel way more cartoony in this movie than the last. I assume it's because the writers wanted the humans to be as silly as the Sonic characters, but it comes off more as the writers and actors not giving a shit because it's a movie made for dumb 5-year-olds. To be fair, I realized I was watching a movie made for 5-year-olds when this happened. What? Alright, I'm done talking about the humans. Now I can talk about the fun stuff. Never mind. I didn't talk about it in the last review because I completely forgot, to be honest, but the music in these movies so far has been painfully generic, especially for a franchise known for how amazing its music is. You could at least have some sense in the score to make it sound more video gamey, but no, unremarkable orchestral auditory sludge it is. I can't even recognize Sonic's leitmotif in these movies because of how basic it is. I like Robotnik's though. Knuckles' is just straight up the MCU Spider-Man theme though, which is weird. The part during Sonic and Knuckles' fight where they straight up play a track from Ant-Man and the Wasp almost pisses me off more than the wedding scene. Almost.
Change of plans.
Hang on.
Why did they decide to use this instead of, oh, I don't know, making original music that sounds just as good? I've watched Zack Snyder's Justice League. I know for a fact that Junkie XL can compose a good soundtrack. Or if you're too lazy to do that, just use the Knuckles theme from Sonic 3. Any game music would be appreciated considering all we've gotten is Green Hill and a Hyper Potion song. I don't know, the fact that they used a track from another movie's soundtrack just rubs me the wrong way. It's like they weren't confident enough in their own score, so they just resorted to licensing someone else's track because they thought it sounded cool. At that point, just get rid of Junkie XL and hire Christopher Beck to do the soundtrack. Honestly, this isn't that big a deal in the grand scheme of things, but it irritates me greatly. Since I spent the last 800 words doing nothing but complaining, now is probably a good time to mention all the things I did like about the movie. Considering my biggest issue with the first movie was that it wasn't enough of a Sonic movie, the fact that the second movie has so much more Sonic stuff is enough to make it a better movie in my opinion, despite all the grievances I just aired. Even though the movie is a loose adaptation of Sonic 3 and Knuckles, there are a lot of Adventure 1 references and I couldn't be happier. Sonic snowboarding down a mountain with an avalanche behind him was really cool. I'm just saying, if there is any time to play licensed music during an action scene, Hard Times by the Jetsons would have made the movie a 10 out of 10. Robotnik was already a bit crazy in Sonic 1, but it feels like Carrie was let off a leash and able to do whatever he wanted in this movie. It was probably how they got him back for a sequel, honestly. I love his new coat that resembles the game design while still being its own thing. It looks really cool when Robotnik absorbs the Master Emerald as well. Wait a second. I also love Robotnik and Knuckles' dynamic through this movie, with Knuckles growing more and more wary of his partner's evil doings. While I would have liked a more direct adaptation of Sonic 3 and Knuckles, the way the writers adapt most of the important story beats of that game works for me here. Speaking of Knuckles, he steals the show in pretty much every scene he's in. This is my favorite iteration of the character in the whole franchise, to be honest. He's a stoic warrior who's also a fish out of water on Earth, which means he's able to be funny without being characterized as an idiot like he had been in the games at the time. Idris Elba was a great casting choice as well.
I really like his new friends, especially the red one.
I am aware of the effect I have on women.
While Tails doesn't get to do as much besides deliver exposition and inflate Sonic's ego, I just like that he's here and along for the ride. Colleen O'Shaughnessy returns to play Tails on the big screen, which is a big win for voice actors in general. Although, I do think Tails sounds a tad bit too old in this movie. To be fair, that might just be because I like when Tails is voiced by an actual child.
I'm sorry, but I asked for the beef stew.
You don't have enough memory in the memory card.
I don't know where else to put this, but I noticed that Sonic and the other animal characters are way larger compared to Sonic's size in the first movie. It's most likely because the original movie Sonic was pretty small and they didn't want to reshoot every scene to adjust for the height change. It's not an issue and I actually prefer Sonic's new size, it's just something I have a hard time not noticing. Oh yeah, Sonic. Sonic's characterization is consistent with the first movie, which means I still find him unfunny and a bit much at times. I do like the arc he goes on through this movie where he learns to be responsible for himself and others around him, despite having seen it done countless times in other media. If it helps, I find the humans much more annoying than Sonic this time around. At least he has an excuse since he's, Sonic the Hedgehog. Lastly, the third act of this movie is fantastic. Sonic vs. Knuckles, Robotnik building the Death Egg robot on the fly, Team Sonic being formed and fighting together for the first time, Super Sonic emerging from the Death Egg robot's foot and destroying its arms without even flinching. Yeah! Even though the fan service is excellent, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 was still held back by the music, comedy, and a massively unrelated side plot that derails the entire film. I want to say this movie is good, but it's not the great piece of cinema I once thought it was. Sonic 2 gets a B-. It's pretty clear what the next movie has to improve on. Fuck this series, it's getting its own video.
So, I guess there's only one thing left to say.
Snooping as usual, I see.
Take everything positive I said about Sonic 2 and double down on it. Take everything negative I said about Sonic 2 and get rid of most of it. Sonic 3 isn't only a good Sonic movie or even a good video game movie, it's just a good movie in general. While the way it adapts Sonic Adventure 2's story is very streamlined and cuts out some things fans will miss, I also think it improves on many aspects of the story. Since I did so last time and because I have less to say on the topic, I'll start with the negatives. I think the whole Gun HQ sequence needed to be reworked. To start, I don't like that Shadow sits on the beach for most... I don't like that Shadow sits on the bench for most of it. I feel like there definitely could have been a way to incorporate him into this sequence. Maybe have him act as a distraction for Gun so that Ivo and Gerald could have an easier time infiltrating the headquarters. Maybe have him step in to keep Sonic from ruining the plan and we could have a scene of the two racing through London. Anything other than a I just love Latinas reference. I also don't like how Sonic is able to outrun Gun HQ's Gungan Shield thing, despite that being the whole justification for Tom/Randall and Maddie/Rachel to be in the sequence. It just feels like my time was wasted, you know? Also, Knuckles is able to just break through it anyway with the Flames of Disaster! So that's awesome. My other major problem with this movie is in the final battle. I did not care for Ivo and Gerald's weird ass fight where they spanked each other and pretended to be animals. It would have been much cooler if they cut the jokes and took the fight seriously. Gerald could drop the funny man axe and do anything it takes to keep Ivo from stopping the arc, and Ivo, outraged by the fact that the only family he's had left has betrayed him, could go all out and create some wild machines to fight his grandfather. There's concept art of the two firing finger guns at each other, and I think that would have been really fun. Hell, give them egg walkers as a reference to the mech bosses in Sonic Adventure 2. I feel like at this point in the story, the movie is going all out on the fan service with the Super Sonic and Shadow fight, and I think the Ivo and Gerald fight could have done more to match that energy rather than do that. That being said, those are my two biggest issues with the movie. Everything else is just kind of nitpicky. To be fair, a lot of my complaints for the last two movies were nitpicky, but to start, they finally get game music in these movies, and I couldn't be happier. Making Live and Learn Shadow's motif was a great choice. There's an argument to be made that Live and Learn represents the team-up between Sonic and Shadow, and they should have gone with a track like All Hail Shadow or Throw It All Away, and that argument's valid. Honestly, I'm just happy they even went with game music for Shadow's theme in general. When the movie started with Maria playing Live and Learn on the guitar, I was like, oh, this movie's gonna be good. Besides Live and Learn, there's other game music sprinkled in here too, and it puts a big smile on my face every time I catch a track. I'm really glad Paramount and Sega took notes from the Mario movie and decided not to shy away from including fan-favorite tracks. My only critique is that I hope they can be a little more obvious next time. I did not know City Escape was in the scene until someone pointed it out to me, and I still have trouble recognizing it. Still though, I'm very happy with this movie's soundtrack. Big thumbs up. As I said previously, I really like how this movie chooses to go adapting Sonic Adventure 2. Sure, I would have liked to see Rouge and Amy, but I don't mind the writers choosing to save those characters for later and instead focusing heavily on Shadow and the Robotniks. Speaking of which, Shadow is the best part of this movie. I was not expecting Keanu Reeves to work as well as he does, and Shadow's movie design is pretty much perfect. Shadow's flashbacks are my favorite scenes in the movie. Watching him and Maria be good friends and bond with each other, only for it to cut to Shadow alone in the ruins of their home, is heartbreaking. While it's true that Sonic and Shadow's talk on the moon is extremely similar to Sonic and Knuckles' talk on the beach in the previous movie, I still really like this scene. Every time the sun comes up from behind the earth and Shadow quotes what Maria said to him all those years ago, I want to give this movie 5 stars so bad. I actually really like Shadow and Sonic's dynamic in this movie. These versions of the characters have a lot in common besides their designs, and I love how their arcs are intertwined with each other, with Sonic becoming vengeful like Shadow but choosing not to pursue revenge, and Shadow learning from Sonic's choice and choosing to do the same. It sounds pretty basic on paper, but they didn't really have interactions like this in Adventure 2, so I appreciate seeing them here. I love the brotherhood of Team Sonic and how the three play off each other. Sonic is the hot-headed leader, Knuckles is the older brother watching out for everyone, and Tails is the glue keeping his older brothers in check. The scene where the team breaks up is beautifully done and isn't really something we get to see in the games. I also like how we get to see the team dynamic for much more of the story, compared to Adventure 2 where the team is split up for a majority of the game. I've been going, this is much better than Adventure 2 way too much, and I'm gonna get so much shit for it. I am so sorry, Adventure fans. I swear I like Adventure 2. I still like Tom's character, but the fact that Adventure 2 is the one Sonic story that is most justified in being set in the human world, and he still only has a grand total of like 4 minutes of screen time, really shows how much we don't need the human characters anymore. Again, Sonic 1 is fine, it just was really bad at being a Sonic movie, and in retrospect, it was especially bad at setting up a Sonic cinematic universe. It was really weird that Commander Walters didn't mention Olive Garden once in the whole movie. Like, I kept waiting for him to name drop it, but it never happened. It's like when you feel a sneeze blowing up, but it just keeps going away before you can actually sneeze. Something a lot of people will take issue with is how this movie characterizes Gerald Robotnik.
Thank you for taking the bait and falling right into my trap.
I don't believe this. I know, grandson. A woman in the military.
This take is a pretty big departure from Adventure 2, mainly due to the fact that he's, alive. He's much more malicious in this movie as well, compared to Adventure 2, where he's presented as a man with good intentions who lost his way when Maria was taken from him. That said, I personally find what this movie does with Gerald to be an interesting take, and I think that it strengthens Ivo's character, and the whole movie in general, rather than if they just adapted Gerald one for one. I also find every scene with the two Robotniks to be funny, but that's just me.
I'm a chip off the old block. I'm a chip off the old block.
I'm a chip off the old block. What do you want, Stone?
Why does that make me laugh? Jim Carrey honestly acts his ass off in this movie, and sometimes I forget that these two characters are played by the same actor. This is definitely one of Carrey's best performances, if not his best performance ever. Ivo's sacrifice is also a great scene, even if I have a feeling Carrey will eventually find his way back to the series in some form or another. Eggman is too important of a character to be gone from the series forever, and who knows, maybe Carrey needs another house. And last, but certainly not least, I need to talk about the best part of the movie. That's right, Wade Whipple is in this movie. Okay, but you guys need to let me rant for a second. Why the f*** is Wade playing hockey with the Master Emerald? He bowls. You wasted an entire goddamn Knuckles series focusing on the fact that Wade bowls. Why couldn't you make him bowl? I already know that the series was a f***ing humongous waste of my time, but now it's no longer subjective. In all seriousness though, I do think the fact that the writers of movie 3 completely ignored the Knuckles series is really funny, and I'm glad they gave us as little of Wade as possible. Thanks, Jeff. Anyway, I gotta talk about the third act. Holy shit, that was awesome. Seeing Super Sonic and Super Shadow literally shift tectonic plates and punch each other across the planet was amazing, and it makes me wish we could get a boss fight like this in the games. And when they teamed up and that glorious Live and Learn orchestral rendition started playing, I lost my mind. It was everything I wanted, and I'm satisfied. It's all fan service, don't get me wrong, but damn it, I'm a Sonic fan and I love being serviced, especially when the movie is as good as it is on its own without all the references. And with that, I can confidently say Sonic the Hedgehog 3 is genuinely a great movie. Hardcore fans will have a blast, and it will convert the masses into new fans. A handful of iffy scenes aside, Sonic 3 gets an A. It's really good. I'm running out of ways to say something is good. I don't know how much longer I can last. I threw my voice out yelling, oh my god. Sonic 3 has 2 post-credit scenes. One of them is just confirmation that Shadow survived and will return soon. Some will be disappointed and think it ruins the sacrifice, but come on, we all knew that was going to happen. Shadow arriving on Earth in a meteor got me thinking. What if the villain of the next movie is Zavin? The other post-credit scene shows my boy, Metal Sonic! And there's an army of them. And they all got destroyed in seconds. By Amy Rose, woo! I'm not really big on the idea of an army of Metal Sonics. I know it's a thing from the comics, but I was hoping for a more traditional Sonic and Metal Sonic dynamic. I guess I have the OVA for that. I wonder if they're all controlled by Neo Metal Sonic. Or Robo Robotnik. I just hope they don't give Metal Sonic a voice. I do not care if Ultron lines edited over an animation of Metal Sonic is awesome. I don't want him as Metal Sonic. Or even Neo Metal Sonic. I'm so tired. I don't have as much to say about Amy. It's cool that she's finally here, and I like her design. I hope she doesn't act like Ian Flynn is writing her. While it would be funny if they flipped the dynamic and Sonic crushes on Amy while she doesn't care for his advances, that kind of thing has become very commonplace, and I'd rather the writers stay true to their classic dynamic. They got the other characters spot on, so I'm hoping they do the same for Amy. We can take away from this post-credit scene that Sonic 4 will probably be a CD adaptation, which means it's going to be a time travel story. I'm just saying, it would be cool if they took advantage of that and introduced another hedgehog who's famous for being a time traveler. That would be cool. Last thing, since Shadow had Live and Learn as his leitmotif in this movie, I hope Metal Sonic gets Stardust Speedway as his theme. If I hear that one sample in this movie's soundtrack, I won't be able to say anything negative about the movie. As for Amy, it would be cool if they used Believe in Yourself, the credit song from Sonic CD. I love that song, I don't care if it's super corny. But whatever the future may hold for Sonic 4 and beyond, as long as the movies and shows are as good as or better than Sonic 3, I'll be seated day one. Ah, who am I kidding? I'm a Sonic fan, I'll be seated anyway. Just don't adapt No.